Are you recognizable as a brand? Do you want to stand out from the crowd? Dr. Rebecca Wambua invites you to a free webinar on Elevate Your Brand. International key speakers such as Dr. Elizabeth Leon, Dr. Mercy Igoki, John Obado, Loom Sandra, Fiona Wairimu, Mozamil Moidin, and James Ndiku will facilitate different sessions such as elevating your business brand, elevating yourself as a brand, and so much more. These sessions will happen on the 3rd of June from 6:30 p.m. Contact us on +254 721 357 165 or log on to jomesma.org or email us on jomesma.com. See you then.
So I welcome you all. We have 6 presenters who will talk to us about personal branding. I'm sure all of us are interested in knowing how can we stand out from the crowd. So that is what we are going to learn today. And I'm sure by the end of it, we'll have gotten a few strategies or ideas on how to ensure we stand out as a unique brand, because every person is supposed to be a unique brand. And we have seen a lot of advertisements where they say that image is everything. Of course, we know there is more than just the image, but there is the first appearance. How do you look in the eyes of others the first time they see you? Because that has an effect on how they will relate with you. So those are just some of the ideas that we'll be discussing this evening. And we are going to start with Dr. Mercy Igoki. Dr. Mercy, are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's start with you.
I'm smiling.
Because you're number one.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Yeah, we can see your screen very well. Yeah, we can see very well. You are welcome.
Yes. So thank you very much. I like.
Please, if you are on the background, please mute. Dr. Dinda, maybe you can mute everyone except the speaker. Okay, welcome, Dr. Mercy.
All right, thank you very much.
Maybe I can introduce you briefly. Dr. Mercy is an educationist, a coach, a mediator, and an author, and also an author. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate. And thank you for the way you have introduced the topic, that how people see you is very, very important. And of course, the first encounter is very important. Like you have already said, my name is Dr. Mercy Igoki. My brand is optimal living. That's my brand. So anything that I talk about is optimal living. And you have already introduced me. Maybe the only thing that you have not said is that I'm a mother of 2 adult sons. And that is very, very important to me. Allow me to go straight to business and maybe ask ourselves, what is personal branding? What is personal branding? And from where I stand, it is the process of creating an individual identity and reputation for yourself. So you're saying, what is my identification? When people look at me, what is it that comes to their mind? What's my uniqueness? What is this that is so exceptional about me? What's my personality? What's my niche? What is my one thing that I am identified with? So in my view, there's a way of introduction that is personal branding. And of course, for us to bring out our personal branding, we exhibit our skills, use our skills, we use our expertise, we use our abilities, our knowledge, our principles, our personality, just to bring out who we really are in the marketplace and in the industry. So we are asking, and I need you to note this, that when we talk about personal branding, it is not plural, it is singular. Personal branding is singular. It is who I am, my brand. And I need to throw this disclaimer and say that there are many times that people want to copy and paste other people. And there are even others who want to cut and paste. And maybe I could differentiate the two, the copying and pasting and cutting and pasting. Pasting is where you want to be like another person. You have seen somebody whose brand is maybe wearing yellow and black dress, like what we see with the Wanjiku the teacher. When you see the screaming yellow and black, what comes to your mind is Wanjiku the teacher. So somebody tomorrow decides, I want to be like Wanjiku the teacher. So you copy and paste. And then cutting and pasting is where you badmouth other people so that you stand out. So I need to mention this very quickly, that there is something for every one of us. We don't have to copy and paste. We don't have to cut and paste. We can bring out our very, very best, our personal brand. And using very simple ones, I could actually equate personal branding with standing out in our unique way, stand out in. And I mean, and looking at that picture that I have there on my screen, you can see the yellow. There are so many umbrellas behind there, okay? But the yellow is standing out in its own way. So we can stand out in our own way. We don't have to look like somebody else. We don't have to badmouth another person to be like them or to compete so that we are, we look like we are ahead of them. We are simply unique in our own way, and we can present our brand that way, just unique. And now going to the business that I was asked to, that is the personal branding strategies. What are some of the things that we can do to bring out this brand that we are saying? How do we optimize on our brand? And I want to propose this. Self-assessment. Before you can even start talking about your personal brand, you need to ask, who am I? What's my identity? What are my strengths, my weaknesses? What are my interests? What are my passions? What about the values? What do I consider very, very important to me? That is why for personal branding, you cannot copy and paste. Neither can you cut and paste, because you are unique in your own way. Your passion is unique. Your values are unique. And allow me to use very weird example for in values. Like for the ladies, there are people whose personal brand is wearing very short clothes, or maybe a very low cleavage. And they are very, very comfortable with it. That's how we have always known them. Now, then you go to cut and paste, or you go to copy and paste, and you want to look like that. You look completely weird. You look out of place. And that is why we need to do our own self-assessment and ask ourselves, what is my brand? What is it that I am bringing to other people that is unique from everyone else? What makes me special? Why do I feel different from other people? Self-assessment, very, very important as we position our brand in the marketplace. What about my audience? Who is going to be my consumer? Consumer of my brand. Scan your audience or your consumer. Who is your audience for this brand? What language does your audience like? Where is your audience? What does your audience like and dislike? Just adapt the brand's message and communicate to your audience. Allow me to use an example. If I am a teacher, I speak, I do motivational talks to all educational stakeholders. Give me the students, whether you give me the kindergarten, you give me the primary, you give me the high school, give me university. For as long as somebody is a student, I am okay. Give me the BOM, the Board of Management. Give me the parents. Anybody in the education system, that's my audience. Now, I need to ask myself, if that's my brand, my audience is the education stakeholders, where are they? Where will I find them? What kind of language will I give to them? And of course, the way I will speak to students is going to be completely different from the way I speak to the parents. The way I speak in a school is going to be different to the way I speak to the university students. If I'm speaking to the marketplace, I am there in the marketplace, the language is going to be different. I'm talking about scanning our audience, our consumer, and giving them that which is appropriate for them as a strategy for our personal brand. What about consistency? Keep the narrative aligned with your brand. You can't do everything. You can't do everything. But you can, there is this one thing that we are saying is my brand. You can do it and do it very well. So consistently share relevant content that supports your brand across all of your profiles. Don't confuse your customers. Don't confuse your consumers. Don't confuse your audience. By today, you're talking about this, the other day, you're talking about something else, and another day is a different story altogether. Keep your narrative aligned to your brand. That way, we are able to identify you with this one narrative, and that becomes your self-brand. It becomes your brand, and just keep to it. As we get to grow our brand, ensure you have the network. And we always say this, that your net worth equals your network. You are as good as your network. So for you to grow your personal brand, then you need to form meaningful collaborations, friendships, and relationships as you work with other people. You cannot make it alone. You need other people. You need other people to work alongside you. So you need to form network and ensure that the network that you are with, the people that you are hanging out with, are people that are boosting your self-brand. They are not people who are derailing your brand. What about quality? Our audience, our consumers want quality. One strategy of personal brand is to ensure you offer quality, remain relevant. I mean, life is changing very, very fast. Every day we have something new. Yesterday we had computers. Today we have intelligence. We have intelligence. Then tomorrow it will be something else. So give quality and keep tab with what is happening, and that way your clientele, your consumer will grow alongside you. Arrive wrong runner. What do I mean? As you boost your self-brand, keep researching before you do your presentations. Just like I've said before, give quality to your audience. The way to give quality is to become a lifelong learner. You stop learning, you are slowly killing your brand. So keep growing, and you grow from your colleagues, you grow from your friends, you grow from reading books, you grow from attending workshops and all that. But ensure that you are becoming better every day, because things are changing every day. Life is dynamic, and you need to grow. You need also to be dynamic so that you can grow your personal brand.
Because of time, I'd like to welcome Dr. Elizabeth Leon. She's an educationist. She has a PhD in education, and she's also a principal, and she'll be talking about branding in schools in Mexico. So Dr. Elizabeth, please, you're most welcomed.
Thank you. I will share my screen with you. I will talk very fast for don't lose our time. Well, as the talk before our friend, we are talking about what is brand. What is brand and what is the branding? Well, now in the personal way, we can know, or as a company, we can know that the brand, it's the B is the blueprint, relationship, agreement, nature, and distinctive. But this is very important for us, for can have a very exclusivity, a personality. And in this way, we can do a lot of things as any company, as in the personal way, or in schools, institution, etc. In this case, I have to talk about the schools in Mexico, but I want to talk a bit before.
Dr. Elizabeth, are you able to put on a slideshow so that we see the entire screen?
You can see it?
Are you able to put it on a slideshow?
Now, can you see it?
Okay, just continue.
It's better now.
It's okay, just continue. Okay, now that's better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, now, it's the brand. The brand is all that we are, each one of us as persons, as community, as schools, as society. And all this is very important because we will be talking about the truth, the identity, the value that we can to say the design or logo, of course, this is very, very important, which is the strategy we will use for this and adversity. And in this way, we can find a good marketing for all this that we want to do. In this case, sorry, if we are talking about the school branding, we have very important topics to talk. Yes, the exercise is a good judgment. Yes, because we have to be analyst and scientist. We have to be a competitor analysis and a good communication in this kind of analysis, school network and area or influence analysis. All these are very important that we have to talk, especially in the private schools, because finally, this is a business for the owner, yes. And in this case, we will talk to how to spend our school. Yes, we will need one online marketing campaign, digital marketing, this is very important, increase student enrollment, market research, and donor prospecting. When we have this view, this way for doing this in this kind of branding, we can start to think if this is a good way for all that we can to do bigger and bigger our business or no, and what is happening and what can we do. Yes, after this we have to build a solid foundation. How? Well, about the brand development, branding strategies too, a brand image audit study, brand perception analysis, and we have to redesign our website. This is very important because in my case, I am in one institute too, and we have to change again and again. And as you are working more and more, and if you change to another level high, you have to do something different in all this. There are not another way. Yeah, this is one example of one private school, and they have this branding. Yes, here we are talking to Sacatontli, an Aztec god. Yes, and in this case, and this is in Nahuatl. Nahuatl is a language that some people speak in Mexico. Yes, and this is want to say hair of grass. Yeah, and we are talking very short what is each part of the word. Yes, and for example here in the Aztec mythology is a patron god of the night, road, and travelers. To obtain support for the trip, travelers present themselves blending with barbed branch. Yeah, Sakatanti protected those who are traveling. In this case, this school are using this god because they think or his way is then they are traveling in this way for the business, for the education, etc. And then they decide you receive. And well, this is about one private school. Now I would like to talk with you about the public schools in Mexico. Yeah, how they use it. This is interesting and it's very good, I think. The first that I have to say is, for example, all the public schools, in this case, is a secondary schools, use the same logo. All the schools use the same logo, only change the number of the schools. What is this kind of schools in secondary? They have one technique education, yeah? Not only with elementary school. The students learn some job, yeah, some kind of job, different jobs, when the students can be practiced 8 hours by week. Yeah, and in this case, for example, they use the same uniform in all the country, in all Mexico. All the students in this level, in this kind of school, use the same uniform. Yes, and this is the formal, is brown with a gray. And here for the sports classes, too, they use the same. In all the country is the same. In fact, the size to the skirt, to the shoes, the blouse, all is exactly same. They can change it. Yeah. This is why it's interesting, because immediately, if you live in Mexico, immediately you can know in which school there are these students, and what is the way that these schools are talking. In this case, this is the time of each signature that the schools, this kind of schools, are talking. Yes, of course, they have Spanish, English, maths, science, technology, geography, history, values, technologies, arts, sports, and, and health allied. And each student is 40 hours by week in the schools. In this case, as I told you, in technologies, is they prepare to the students for to have a job. If they decide don't study more, they can work in some place. There are different kinds of technologies, and they can use it. This is a particular school because the students work more time than the rest of the public schools in Mexico. Yeah. In the case for the public schools that are not with technologies, they use this kind of uniform. Yeah. Is the pink color for the first year, because in the secondary school there are only 3 years. Yeah, and in the first year or first grade, they use the pink color. The second grade, they use the blue color. And in the third year, this last year, the students or the girls, especially the girls, use the maroon color. Immediately, in all the country, immediately we can know in which level is this girl, because the color is only for the girls. The boys use the green uniform all the 3 years. This is not some difference. But in the case to the girls, yes, they use these different colors, and we can know in which level is each one. Yeah, and this can help because we can understand. We have this branding specific, and maybe it's a public school because the technique and this public school are the same, but we can understand what is exactly the way. Another thing very important, the government give the uniforms to the students in all the levels, kindergarten, in the primary school and the secondary school. These 3 levels, the government give the uniforms to the students. Yes, then it's not a problem, because a lot of years ago, yes, sometimes the students can't buy the uniform, and this was one reason why the students don't continue studying. Now the government give the uniforms to all the students. Yeah, in fact, all that material that they use, the books, notebooks, pencil, absolutely all that the students need in the schools, the government give to all them. Yeah, then all is exactly same. And well, for example, this is another example. This is the logo for my company. Yes, in another way, we are one school, And this is exactly the same example. We work in different countries, in different levels, yeah, in different activities, in different ways. And in all the work, in all the places, the people know this law, inequality. Any country, any place, any activity, wherever this, you will find this logo. Yes, and this is good because now we can talk with people to Morocco, to Egypt, here in India, in Mexico, Latin America, and I say I am working in equality, and in this way, in this moment, the people know that equality is from Mexico, that equality is about a course for certification, and we can work perfectly with all this. Yeah, and well, in this short time, we can do it. And well, that's all. I don't know if somebody have some question. I see.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Elizabeth, for your presentation about branding in schools in Mexico. I think we have seen the importance of uniform. It shows which grade you are in, and also the importance of the logo. So in case you have a question to Elizabeth, kindly ask her now, because she's about to leave to go for another meeting. She's in India, and I think they are 2.5 hours ahead of us. So
yeah, thank you.
Okay, if there's no question, I'd like to invite Muzamil Moiden, because he's also going for another meeting so that he can do the presentation. So thank you so much, Dr. Elizabeth. It has been a pleasure having you in this forum. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Muzamil, you can come in now.
Yeah, ma'am. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you, thank you. And first of all, I just have to say my thanks to Dr. Elizabeth ma'am and Dr. Rebecca, so giving me an opportunity to share my idea branding to school in India. And it's my pleasure also to attend a great program like this. So may I share my screen?
Yes, you can share. So Muzamil Moidin he has an MBA,
yes,
also a master's in communication, and also he's a principal of one of the schools in India. So welcome, you can share your presentation.
Okay, before going to share my presentation, I just want to give a simple idea what is branding. Okay, so branding is some uniqueness with other. So when we think about the chocolates, Cadbury's is coming in our mind. The logo also. Two things are the chocolate is drawing on, and a Nestle, the Nestle chocolates or any brand. So one bird nest, two birds are talking. So when we see that logo, these things are coming in our mind. So that is branding. Because when we think about one product, automatically one company is coming in our mind. I hope in Africa also Airtel is using. When we think about the network, Airtel is coming in our mind. And that uniqueness and branding with the help of the one music, I hope everyone knows the Airtel, that ringtone. See how they create a brand with a music, with a logo and everything. So that's why branding is the uniqueness which is different from the competitors. So today I'm going to share about the branding of schools. So branding of a school in India, how our school, our product is different from competitors. So that thing we are going to discuss here. Okay. So I'm going to share my share screen. Rebecca, ma'am. Hello.
Hello, you can hear you, but you can't see the.
Can you hear me?
We can see you,
We
but
can see nothing. No, nothing.
Oh, really? Because some issues in my system, that PPT. I already forwarded that PPT to Rebecca, ma'am. Can you please share from her side? Is it possible? Means. Rebecca, ma'am, can you hear me?
Okay, let me try to share your presentation.
Okay. Because 2-3 days here the network has some issues. That's why that's our dry time, so I couldn't able to communicate properly because of some network issues. So, my dear friends, I hope you got the idea what is branding. Is it? So, branding means what? It is the uniqueness from our competitors. That's why I given an example about even the chocolates, that Cadbury's, how they're different from the competitors, even the Nestle. And everything now, when we think about our car, some brands are unique. If it is an expensive car, first which car is coming in our mind? That is Rolls Royce, is it? So that is branding.
Okay, can you see?
Yeah, I can see it. So can you please take it that first slide only? Okay. Now everyone can see what is branding.
Kindly put the slideshow.
Yeah. You can make it a little bigger. So first one is branding. Now you can see, I hope.
Yeah, you can continue. I'm trying to put it on a slideshow. Just continue.
Okay. So branding is the process of creating a strong positive perception of a company. It products and service in the customer mind, combining just elements as logo, design, mission statement, and a constant theme, thoughtful, or market communication. That's what I'm taking. In a simple way, we can say that one. Our product, it is extremely different from the competitors. And we have some uniqueness. And our logos, our things should be different from others. So that one we can say. And now we can focus how the school is branding. What is your, now you got it, what is meant by branding? Can you tell me, the audience, how school we can brand? What is a school branding? Any idea? See, your brand is a promise to your customer. It tells them what they can expect from your products and service, and it is determine your offering from that your competitors. The same thing only. What is promise we can give to our customers and fulfill that promise? So when we think about the school branding, replace the customer with what? Students. Got it? So customer, it will be turned to students, and products and service, it will be educational experience. So now we can say that one, that is a school branding. I hope everyone got the idea what is school branding. Now, next slide. Why, how does branding benefit a school? See, in your area also, many schools are there. But some schools have some uniqueness. Parents and students prefer that school to study. Why? Because of these three reasons, the branding of a school is very much important. It builds a trust. See, near about 10 or 20 schools in your city, but we are choosing, parents are choosing one or two schools only. Why? Because the production, it means, I told you, production means the education services, and the customer means students and parents are happy. So we feel that when we send our kids to that school, it will create a uniqueness, in academic wise, sports activity, everything different from the competitors. So that's why it is a trust, we can say that. And it improves the student fit. Different students serve in different environment. Okay, we can go to the next slide, ma'am. So we can create a brand in your school brand. Okay, so we can think about the steps to create a school brand. Ask the audience. It means we have to take a small survey about how about our school, and do you know our school? Like that way we can make a simple question to our audience. They will give their conception about our school. So from that time, we can evaluate ourselves. What are the weakness our school has? What are the strengths we have? So from that one, we have to, if it is any weaknesses there, we have to overcome from that. So like this way, we have to create the steps of a school brand. First one is ask the audience. Okay. Second, then we can go to the next step. Check out the similar schools. I told you, we have to check what the competitors are doing, how they are different from the other school. Learn from the competitors, how the uniqueness. So the same way we can focus on our school also. You may not like the thinking of your school as having competitors, but people choose between it in other similar institution. How does the school present themselves? How can you set your school apart? Got it? How we can keep a school in different way. Then create a brand personality. You know what make your school special? Some schools, when we see some students' uniform, we can recognize that they are from that school. Their logo, their bag, their shoes, it indicates what they are from one particular school. That is the branding. From their dress code, from their bag, from their shoes, from their socks, even also we can recognize. That is the uniqueness of the school. Understand? Even the words, the communication, the debate section, always, when we think about the public exam, always first rank is coming from one particular school only. Or first rank, second rank, third rank, up to the fifth rank. Whenever the exam is coming, our mind is coming, yeah, that school's only scoring good marks, good rank. So that is also branding, academic wise. When in the football time, football activities, yeah, that school will achieve that one. Automatically, school name is coming in our mind. Because of their hard work, they create a brand like that. So branding a school is too much important. Even in school life also, and if it is in your business also, we have to different from the competitors. They are our logo, our, you know, what we are producing to the public, it will be unique. So then only we can stand in the market or in the competitive world. Okay, it's just an introduction about me. My name is Muzammil Moideen. I'm a principal of Munawwara CBSE School, Pudukkottai, Tamil Nadu. And why I choose this school also, Munawwara is the school. They are providing same academic, secular studies and Islamic values also. If any kid joining in that school, that kid is studying by heart in that Holy Quran, and at the same time they can study the academic wise in a real world. So that is the uniqueness of the one school in this southern part of India. So that is the greater achievements, and that is the reason also I just chose the school as a brand. Okay, really thanks for all to give me a time. If you have any doubt, you can tell me.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Muzammil, for that very good presentation. Yeah, we've learned a lot about branding in schools in India, the logos and all that. So thank you. In case we have a question to Muzammil, you can raise your hand, or if you have a comment, please, you can write it on the chat. Now, before Dr. Elizabeth presented, Dr. Mercy Goki was also presenting, but unfortunately, the power went off, and she'd like to come back and present. So thank you, Muzammil, for coming. And now we go back to Dr. Mercy. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ambua. I really appreciate. I'm sorry for the interruption. We had covered quite much. I had just a few more points to bring in before I can conclude. But just as a recap, we did say that personal branding has already been defined, but branding has already been defined. But now for the personal branding, we said that it is your own self-identification, your self-uniqueness. And we did say that you use your skills and expertise and abilities and knowledge for self-branding. We also mentioned that it is important to note that we are talking about personal branding, not plural. It is singular. So you don't have to copy and paste. You don't have to be like another person. You don't have to cut and paste, meaning you want to remove other people as you blow your own trumpet. Just do you. Just do you. There is something for everyone, including yourself. We had said that. And I did mention that it's just looking for that one thing that makes you stand out. And you'll always find that there is this one thing that is your brand. So make it stand out, like the yellow umbrella. And we also did mention the branding strategies. We talked about self-assessment, where you ask yourself, who am I and what are my strengths and weaknesses? And I had given examples of the various in terms of self-assessment. We also mentioned one strategy for personal branding is scanning your audience, who is your consumer, and ensuring that you align to the consumption or to the need of your consumer or the audience. We also did mention something about consistency as self-branding, keeping your narrative. Just align yourself to a narrative. You can't be everywhere. You can't be everything. Just choose this one thing that is your niche and keep the narrative aligned to that brand so that you do not confuse your consumers or your audience. We also did mention something on network, and we said that your network is equals your network. You can't do it alone. It is personal branding, but you need other people. So you can look out for collaborations and friendships and relationships that align to your brand. And we said as you do this, you need to be careful that you don't look out for network or for collaborations that come and mess up your brand. Look for collaborations that align to what your belief is in terms of your personal branding. And we said that your audience demand quality. So if you really want to grow your personal brand and to ensure that you keep your audience, then they need quality. So remain relevant and authentic. And we did mention that information is changing every day. It's dynamic. So change with the times and ensure that you give quality to your audience. Lifelong learners, we need to also note, I think I mentioned this before I went offline, that research for your presentations. Ensure that you keep growing, you keep learning, become better every day, because even your consumers are becoming better. So align yourself to new information by learning. And the day you stop learning is the day you start killing your brand. So look out for new opportunities to learn, to get more information so that you can give quality to, you have already said, to your audience. And we said something about mentorship. Look out for a mentor. And a mentor is not always somebody who is ahead of you. There are three kinds of mentorship. One, the person ahead of you, the person on your line, and the person behind you. And this mentorship we are talking about is not in terms of age, it's just in terms of experience. Whatever your brand is, you'll find that you may not necessarily be the only person who is doing that. So what about looking out for other people who have more experience and learning from them? And I want to say this because we have a lot of instant thing. We have instant coffee, instant uji. For those of us who are Kenyans, when you go to the ATM, you are able to put a card and you get your money. These days we are carrying money on our phones, so things are coming out so quickly. They're just with us until sometimes we imagine that a personal brand is just won in one day. So we need to remember that a big name does not come in one day. A big name grows and it requires time. So take time to grow your brand and be patient as you grow your brand. Needless to mention, one strategy for personal branding is goal setting. It is okay to set goals and not achieve them rather than not setting them at all. So as you grow your brand, as you develop your brand, as you create your brand, have a goal. Where are you going? What is it that you want in 6 months? What do you want in 1 year? What do you want in 1 month? At least know what you want, because when you don't know what you want, even nothing is something. So if you're not going to a specific place, like I've said there, even nowhere is a place. So aim at something. If you miss it, you will hit the neighbor. That is to say, as you grow your personal brand, set goals. And of course, I don't want to go into the nitty-gritties of how we set our goals, but have a goal. Know exactly what it is that you want, so that when you are there, then you know you have arrived. If you don't get there, then you know, wait, you have not arrived. But we are saying, let's set goals. As I finish, I need to say this, that there is something for every one of us. You don't have to be like any other person. You don't have to engage in negative competition as you create your personal brand. Just be you and do you. And those are my 3 books that I have written. I personally enjoy to interact with young people. I enjoy to mingle with people in the education system. And I have found my niche there. And we can be there as many of us, because whatever you are doing is not what I am doing. So just be you, and we will be there together, all of us, and we will serve the community. Thank you very much, and I am sorry for the time that I went off.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that very good presentation, Dr. Mercy Goki. So she's also a brand by herself. Each person has a unique brand, and she's an author, like she has told you. So you can get in touch with her. All right, thank you. In case you have any questions, you can raise your hand or you write on the chat, and Mercy will be happy to give you the feedback. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can
Yes,
hear you.
yes.
Oh,
Dr.
okay.
Wambua.
Okay, you know, you have to keep on confirming. You might assume that you're talking to someone and you've been dropped off. Okay, let's go to Biona. I had already introduced Biona Wairimo. She's a communications and marketing guru, especially in the area of social media. So she'll be telling us how we can enhance our brands, our personal brands, through social media. Biona, I hope now you are okay. You can unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, although from a distance.
Let me just adjust my mic. Can you hear me now?
I don't know why your voice is still, the sound is a bit low.
Okay, let me try to adjust. Is it much better now?
Yeah, now it's better. You're welcomed.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Just give me a minute to share my screen. Can you see my screen on your end?
Yes, now we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Good evening, everyone. My name is Biona Wairimo. Sorry, I think my connection went off at the beginning, but I'm glad to be here with you. So today I'll be taking you through leveraging social media for effective personal branding. And I'm glad that the speakers that we've had have really gone in depth, especially Dr. Igoki, into personal branding. So for me, I'll focus on how social media comes into play when it comes to personal branding. So of course, right now in the digital age, things have become very alive, yeah? So there are so many opportunities that are out there, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a freelancer or you're a professional. It's important for you to be able to use or have your personal brand reflecting on social media positively. So that's what we are going to focus on today. I still want to quickly dive into what personal branding is, but because my fellow presenters have gone in-depthly onto that, I want to focus on this statement that is below here, that a personal brand is the unique combination of skills, expertise that make you who you are. I think Dr. Igoki also mentioned that in her presentation. So just because you're a personal brand, it doesn't mean that you will lose being you. It applies you as a person, the skills that you have, and the experiences that make you who you are. So going into now, why personal branding is important, I think Dr. Igoki has also covered a bit of this, though in a different way. It helps you stand out from the crowd. That is one. It gives you a competitive advantage. It makes it easy for clients and employers and any other person who would like to work with you to be able to see you and your skills. And it also helps you showcase your skills. It is important for you to have a personal brand representation. And I usually attribute it to like wearing cologne, because you want to smell nice, you want to be presentable when you're maybe with people, but at the same time, as you're putting your best foot forward, you have to make sure that it's also affecting the people around you positively. So if you have a cologne that is very, maybe the smell is not very good, though that is relevant depending on the person, you might struggle being with, or rather being around people, yeah? So personal branding is very important. So if you're starting your journey on personal branding, so how does it tie down to social media? So I came up with some benefits of social media for personal branding. One of the benefits is that social media will help you enhance visibility and reach. So when we are talking about personal branding, we've said that you'll need to reach an audience. You'll need to be authentic to a group or an audience. So for you to be authentic, you have to share or to have a visibility. And that visibility comes about when you're engaging on social media platforms. So social media platforms, of course, include, there are so many of them. There's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, name them. But the bottom line here is for you to choose social media accounts that are most meaningful to you. For example, if your personal brand, let's say you're in the hospitality industry, you are reviewing hotels, reviewing maybe hotels and eating spots or eating joints, you'll want to be able to use a platform that can give you both video coverage, picture coverage. So the most, maybe the platform that you can use most or can benefit you most will be a platform like Instagram or TikTok, because there's a lot of sharing of photos on those two platforms in a more in-depth way than you would on, let's say, Facebook or Twitter, for example. Then the other thing is you need to build authenticity and trust. This was also mentioned earlier. So one of the most important things about personal branding, and especially on social media, is that people want to feel the human you. They do not want to, and I think this has become very rampant, where you see people maybe faking. I think even recently there was a celeb, or an influencer rather, who had faked being on a first class flight. And, you know, people went there and they analyzed, was this really first class? Why is it that she was being chased away? You know, like they were hurrying her out. They were telling her she's the only one left on the flight. And, you know, for example, KOT, they can really unravel what they think you're hiding behind what you're trying to present. So it's very important that you be authentic. And the thing about authenticity is that you need to be transparent, but you need to also be careful when you're transparent. This means that you do not need to share everything with everyone. Sometimes sharing all the information about you, as much as you're trying to be transparent and authentic, can actually harm you. For example, if you share maybe certain information and how it's taken, maybe it's not very positive, it can cause you mental stress. So it's important for you to be very specific on what you share. The other thing is showcasing expertise. Use social media to showcase your expertise more than showcase your daily life. Of course, depending with whatever angle you have taken to build your personal brand, it's important for you to build a professional angle. The reason why I say a professional angle is because a personal angle dies off very quickly. That is one. And then the second thing, a personal angle depends with how the audience will like you. So your audience might not, maybe you're talking about raising your child, or you're raising your children, or being a stay-at-home mom, and you're showcasing everything. People will judge you based on what they are seeing. Some might not like maybe the way you parent, the way you correct your child. So it's very important that you choose an angle that can showcase your expertise. For example, if you're doing, maybe you have a small business, showcase how you handle clients, for example, how you arrange your staff, how you sell online. Try to look for a professional angle, as it will give you a more long run in terms of being able to have content. When you choose a personal one, it might really take some time, or rather, even if you're able to kick it off from the very beginning, after some time, your content will become a bit irrelevant, and you'll now start losing the audience that you have worked for. The other thing is networking and collaboration. This has also been mentioned. Look for like-minded professionals to partner with. For example, if maybe you're influencing in regards to, let's say, tech, look for other people who are in the same or discussing topics around the same area, and bring them on board. Collaborate with them, see whether you can do a show with them. It will help you grow your network, and it's also going to grow your audience. Then there's visual identity, which is being able to use visual elements such as profile photos. That is also very important. The colors that you use. I think my fellow presenters have also talked about consistency. Make sure that your visual identity is consistent. Then we have content strategy and storytelling. I normally recommend that you have a content strategy so that you have something planned out, even if it's for a month or for maybe, for a month is usually best, so that during the month, you know what you're supposed to do to give you content so that you're able to achieve that consistency. And then active engagement and relationship building, which is also very important. And a pro tip here, take advantage of analytic tools. For example, if you're using Facebook, Facebook will give you how many people have looked through whatever content you have shared. If it's YouTube, it's going to give you the same. If it's Twitter, the analytics page is usually free. Just go and look at who are the people who are looking at my content. Are they women? Are they men? So that you're able to streamline your content. The other section is actionable tips to make use of social media, the most of social media. Choose platforms that you feel are most comfortable for you. You don't have to do all the platforms. Don't open Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You don't have to open all. Just choose the ones that you feel are most relevant for you. Then create a good profile statement so that people can easily identify who you are, add your skills, add your hobby, and then be intentional with your content. Avoid posting content that is attacking brands, especially negatively. This because it can cost your reputation and you can be sued for defamation. I think there are content creators who have been sued before. So it's very important when you're posting comments, be careful not to represent other people's brand, especially if you don't have any partnership with the brand. Be careful not to represent them wrongfully, as it can lead you in trouble. Don't use photos that are not yours and without attribution. This one is usually very common. If you're using stock photos, maybe from Pixabay or Pixels or any other platform that gives you free stock photos, they always come with license information. Make sure you go to the license information, check whether it's a purchased license, it's a free license, whether it requires maybe for you to attribute who the owner of the content or the photos are. That will be very important because it can also lead you to legal trouble. Then don't jump on the bandwagon of trends and hashtags. This is very important because it has an implication on your personal brand. For example, if maybe you are an influencer in the area of, let's say tech, for example, and you see a hashtag, maybe if you look at the most recent hashtag, maybe, I don't know which hashtag was there today, but if you look at the most recent hashtags and you go through, you'll find that there are brands that are fixing themselves on hashtags, even when the hashtags are not meaningful to their brands. As someone who's working on their personal brand, you'll be approached by brands and companies to represent them or to be brand ambassadors maybe. Be careful on just using any hashtag, as it might maybe contradict the views and maybe whatever values the company might have. So it's important for you to practice being careful about hashtags so that when you are working with a brand, you don't get yourself in trouble. Also, don't advertise brands without consulting with brand owners. This is because you can give your own personal opinion or review. Maybe you meant well, but you end up misrepresenting the brand, which can also get you into legal issues or maybe backlash from their online fans. I'd also want to quickly touch on brand versus the person. I see my time is quickly going away. This is very important because it has solidified the basis of personal branding versus the person and the brand. This is what I mean. Every person is a brand by themselves, right? you are a brand by yourself. You can be able to showcase your skills, your whatever you do, what makes you you, your ideas and everything else. But it's also important for you to know that if you don't, first of all, identify your personal values as a person, your ethical principles, when you are called upon as a personal brand to represent a brand now, you might get confused and mix your personal values and that of the brand that you're representing. It's important for you to hold your personal ethics and your personal values close to you, because sometimes money can, if you get an opportunity, it can excite you and it might cloud your judgment, if I can say so. Make sure that for your peace of mind and for the purpose of dealing with people on social media, be very specific to separate your personal values and that of brands that you might be called upon to represent. So that if you see maybe this conversation is not taking you to the right direction, you can always say, hey, this does not reflect my personal values or my personal beliefs. Then the other thing is you need to protect your reputation and identity. Brands come and brands go, but your personal reputation and identity, you need to make sure that you don't get yourself into situations that can cause you maybe to have mental distress. For example, if you're representing a brand and maybe people have come out to say these brands, they are racist, they said this, they did this, it's possible that an attack can now come personally on you and people now start talking about you on social media. It's important that you are able to know when to get yourself out of a situation, and it's always okay to speak on your behalf and say, hey, this brand did this and this, I represent them, but I also do not share those values or that ideology. It's important to have that in mind. And then the last thing is that there's advertising and being a brand ambassador. And these days, brands are trying to humanize. There's a process called brand anthropomorphization. I butchered the word, but you'll get it on my notes. It's a process called humanizing the brand. So what brands are doing these days, they take a character. For example, let me give an example with Eliud Kipchoge. They'll take Eliud Kipchoge, take the characters that represent his brand. For example, his his agility, his strength in running, his success in running, and use that to humanize their brand. So they use human-like characteristics from someone and use them to represent their brand, which is a really good thing. But now at the same time, it might affect chances of you working with other brands. For example, if people get to know you as assuming maybe you're advertising something like hair, for example. If people get to know you as the hair person, they might be really, maybe hold back supporting you when you're doing something completely different, like an education institution, for example. So it's important for you to strike a balance. Don't let a brand take all of your personal attributes and put them in their brand, because after 3 years, most brands drop their brand ambassadors and pick up new ones. So you do not want, after 3 years, you are really doing well, the engagement has ended with that one brand, and now you have gone into a situation where you're trying to look for work, but other brands are telling you, hey, I think people are used to you being maybe representing this lotion. I think a good example I can give is someone like Selena, Kate, I think Kate, yeah. or Selena from Mother-in-Law. People are used to her advertising Harpic for such a long time that when you see her, you just see Harpic. Yeah. And now she has moved into Nice and Lovely. And the thing with that transition is not too bad, but when the transition becomes too big, it can be difficult for you to bounce back. So it's important for you to make sure when a brand is humanizing their brand, they don't take all of your personal values and your brand representation and use it in the humanizing of their brand, so that you're able to be in a position to work with other brands in the future. So you'll be able to get all these from my notes. If you have any further questions, I'll be glad to engage with you on chats. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that very good presentation. There's one question. How do you separate yourself from those issues where there's the brand and yourself? How do you separate between the two?
That's a very good question. Dr. Rebecca, allow me to use you because I know most of us here know you in one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dr. Rebecca by herself, she's a brand. Yeah. Through her work, through her experience, through her skills, she is a brand. But she also has Jomesma International Institute, which is also a brand by itself. So what Dr. Rebecca does, it's very linked together, because for her as a person, her brand is in regards to training and teaching other people. And the institute as well does a lot of training. So a lot of times you look at her and wonder, is it her or is it the brand? So what you do as a person to be able to separate the two, make sure that your personal values remain very close to you, and then build values for the brand. So when you're coming up with your personal goals or your personal brand, make sure that you put down all the values and everything you hold dear for your personal brand, and all the values and everything you will want your business to hold dear, so that you're able to separate the two very distinctively. And then when you go to networking events, don't be shy to introduce yourself even twice, depending with the person who you're introducing yourself to. If it will be more meaningful for you to introduce yourself to this person as yourself, the brand you, please go ahead. If it will be meaningful to introduce yourself to this person as the business that you own, introduce yourself as the business. Know when to put the heart for your personal brand and the heart for your business brand. That way you're able to separate the two of them. Yeah. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah, John is saying that is well explained. Okay, there's another question from Wanjala. Being a Muslim, if I'm called upon to represent an intoxicant product, this is where the brand me contradicts the business brand.
Yes, that is true. If, for example, you're called upon to represent a brand that conflicts or contradicts with your personal beliefs or values, it's important for you to be straightforward with the brand. It's okay to tell them, I would love to work with you, but your line of business does not, or rather does not go with my personal brand or personal beliefs. Because again, for example, if someone calls you to represent, let's say, maybe alcoholic drinks, and you do not take alcohol, and maybe you're born again, or from your religion, maybe alcoholism, or not alcoholism, alcohol is not something that you feel is good to represent. It's okay to say no. This is because at the end of the day, people will not be able to really distinguish the person representing the brand and you as a person. They'll see as the same. They'll look at you and see you're the same. Whether you're doing this for the brand or you're doing this for yourself, they'll definitely associate you with that brand. So it's important for you to know when to choose. Yeah, that's what I can say.
Okay, thank you very much for very good presentations. I can see many people have said that that was a nice presentation, Fiona. Keep it up. Dr. Igoki says, I think defining your values is very important and we support that. Okay, thank you. For the sake of time, we'll go to the next presenter. And the next presenter is James Ndiko. James, this is your time now, please. And you can use 10 minutes for your presentation. You can share your screen. You can unmute.
All right, thank you so much. I hope you can all hear me.
Yeah, and we can see you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Dr. Rebecca, so much insight has been shared here and it's so wonderful. I think it will make my work easier just talking about personal branding as a youth, yeah?
Yes, yes.
I found what has been said, especially about online and even businesses, very interesting. However, it's very interesting when it comes to personal matters, when it comes to branding, because we have two things. We have personal branding for organizations, and at times we can also talk about identity. But when you're talking about your own self as an individual, you also have to look at identity. So identity and branding might be more or less the same thing, yeah. Of course, there are boundaries there, defining factors. But when it comes to personal branding, you think about it's an emotional response from, the customer, the gut feeling, rather, if I would put it that way. And the personal branding as a youth, it's not just one thing. It's wholesome. It's who are you really? Yeah. I hope my screen is sharing even as I'm continuing.
Are you able to put it on a slideshow?
Let me just do so. Let me do so right now.
Yeah, there.
That's better.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you. And I forgot to introduce you. You are a TV director and producer in Hope Media, and you also own a film company. So I think that is important.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Yes.
So personal branding can be intertwined with identity as a person. Let me just say this, that when you're growing up, really, you start out by copying things that people do, what they say, how they act, how they react. And from time to time, when you're growing up, you tend to now separate certain things from yourself. And now those things that solidify in your life, now those are the things that become identity. Now it's how you appear, it's how you speak, it's how your attitudes, your characteristics that now identify as an identity. Then how you make people feel, they also take that to be as your brand. As my dad once told me that first impressions matter. That was before I married. And I thought about it so often, and I think that became a really huge thing in my life, that first impressions as a young person really matters, because it creates a personal brand for yourself. And so sometimes when you don't think about first impressions, then we really don't know the kind of a brand that we are creating. And so even as I share the slides, I'll even ask questions, or rather share questions that people can ask themselves, even as they're thinking about their own personal brands. As I've said, personal branding starts with having a personal identity. And then now that affects the perception of people towards you. One of the things I've learned as a young person, I'm very young, but one of the things I've learned in life is to ask people what they think about me. And sometimes you get to hear very interesting answers, especially when you ask first impressions. The first time that someone interacted with you and they have that image stuck in their heads about you. It's very important that you get to know what they're really thinking about you. And so that as you go on in life as a young person, you're able to know, can I separate myself from one individual's perception about me? But when you hear many people saying the same thing about you, then you realize that perhaps it's your identity and also your brand. But learn to ask questions, learn to ask people questions, even at a young age. Right now, you look at statistics of young people in Kenya, I think it's about 13 million, if I'm not wrong, adolescents. And so if you're thinking about branding, so how do you become different from these 13 million adolescents in Kenya right now? And I think that's the defining factor for one person who really cares about knowing what their brand is, because it will separate you from so many people. And how can a personal brand really help you? One, securing yourself a job, and also creating your own portfolio as a person. I'm the founder of Jahoke. But when I get to meet with people, even before they interact with Jahoke, Jahoke is a film and cinematography company. They have interacted with me. Someone might choose Jahoke because they like my brand personally. So if I'm not careful to make my brand stand out, even towards other people, then it tends to affect the perception of every other thing that I'm running, be it business, be it the organization that perhaps I represent, which is Hope Media, and so many other businesses that I might start off along the way. So personal branding as a young person is very important. Some of the questions that I've been able to ask myself from time to time is, what motivates me to be who I am? So remember, we say that identity can form a part of your brand. So asking yourself, what motivates me to be who I am is a very important question. And then how do others know me and why? Why do they know me that way? So, and then how do I achieve a successful personal branding? Have a plan and action points. Write them down. Give yourself targets in life. If it's to say, let's say 1 year, or at least 6 months or 5 months, and then how do I remain relevant as a person? Personal branding. So right now we are thinking about work status. We're thinking about relationships and stuff. But personally, how am I relevant? Even to the person that is close to me. And if I'm not relevant, then it really begs a question about my personal branding. And then also review that plan often, scrutinize it, make adjustments where possible, where you need to do so. Once you've made those adjustments, reevaluate again. There's a term I've learned recently, which is called VUCA. It's an acronym. So VUCA, it's to mean, the V is volatility, the U is uncertainty, the C is complexity, and the A is ambiguity. Now, the reason why I'm saying evaluate this is because things are changing so fast in our times. Whereas, let's say 30 years ago, you'd have a strategic plan for, let's say, the next 10, 15 years. Right now, if you say, especially in the media industry, if you tell yourself that you have a strategic plan for the next 10 to 15 years, by the time those 10 to 15 years are over, so many things have changed. So you ask yourself, is my strategic plan relevant right now? So learning to reevaluate your personal brand every now and often is very important because times are changing. Recently, we had TikTok coming up, and I'm sure right now people know about AI. AI helps so many people in doing so many things, especially answering questions. But now you'll find that even as an individual, let's say I had a target for myself for the next 10 years. This is what I wanted to do, even for my business. Then I had a strategic plan for like 10 years. Before those, even 2 years are over, someone introduces something called AI. If you do not reevaluate and you're just following your own set guidelines for the next 10 years without reevaluating, by the time those 10 years are over, you're far left behind. So reevaluating yourself as a personal brand is very important, because now your personal brand affects every other thing you do. How you relate with people, what you know about what is going on in the world, communication, and so many other things. So learn to reevaluate. every now and often. Ask people questions, what they think about you. Also ask yourself, what do I think about myself as a personal brand? Because that will help you now form a guideline as to how you want to be seen by others. But also you can create a personal brand and you create a picture of how you want to be seen by others. But if you haven't ideally created that picture well, or if you haven't portrayed it very well, then you need to reevaluate yourself again and ask yourself, then how do I make my personal branding effective? And then let me just share something here. Now, this is a VUCA acronym that we talked about earlier. V is volatility, quality of being subject to frequent, rapid, and significant change. So how often are you evaluating yourself as a personal brand? Uncertain occurs when events and outcomes are unpredictable. Like recently, we've had AI coming up. Let's say 2 years ago, people hadn't quite thought about it, or some even had, but what about our older generation? Now, our young generation is quite aware and familiar with this whole AI thing. But trust me, in the next 15, 20 years, these young people who have interacted with AI will see something different coming and be like, times have changed for you guys, for the younger guys who are younger than them, because something new has been introduced. Then there's complexity, involves a multiplicity of issues and factors, some of which may be intricately interconnected. So of course, having an idea of what is going on around you, what people know about you, what you think about yourself, how your environment is really affecting you forms now that complexity. Because now you're a sum of not really the things sometimes you go through, but how you interpret the things that you go through. That includes your environment, that includes how you interact, that includes how you think. So that is complexity. And then we have ambiguity. Ambiguous is shaped by a lack of clarity and difficulty understanding exactly what the situation is. Information may be misread or misinterpreted. So if people even don't understand you quite well or your personal brand or identity, people can tend to sometimes misquote you, sometimes take you for something else if you're not quite clear, even in your values. The last speaker has just spoken about separating your personal identity with other brands. And if you're not standing up for something else, then you'd rather not be part of it. Yeah. So try as much not to be misled by being clear in also your identity and the things that you stand for as a personal brand, especially for the youth. And I think also being connected to probably an older generation as a youth can help you to understand how they think. And because there's a very huge difference between, we have millennials, we have Gen Zs. Right now we have the Alpha generation. And then I think we have the generation, is it X or Y, back in the 1960s or so forth. But all these generations have something that they can teach you. So you can probably pick something from, if you're an Alpha, you can probably pick something from millennials. Millennials can probably pick something from Gen Zs and stuff, So also put yourself in a place of learning constantly. And then we have already gone through that. We had talked about first impressions. First impressions are often hard to forget. Now, when you look at this image, and you look at the guy on the right side, what do you think? And when you look at the guy on the left, without even having seen the guy on the right side at first, what would have given you an impression about that person? So, and that's to say that first impressions really matter. And for him, the tattoos probably are an identity. He's drawn them, that's what he likes. But you see, they also form a personal brand. So even for the young people, what you really do and what you stand for really matters. Recently, let me just to share something personal. Recently in the office, our office is made up of, I'd give or take 70, 80% young people. And the little percentage of guys in the office are now the older ones. I'd give, let's say 35, 38 there and above, like 20%. So we'd say probably the office is being run by young people. But one of the things I got to observe is how the young people and the older people think is very different. I'll give an example. Before I started looking for work, I had this whole Afro hair thing, and
Sorry, somebody is talking in the background. Okay, you can continue. Unmute.
sorry. So my dad was telling me, with the kind of hair you have, it's really hard to get work. And I was getting into the media industry. Right now, I have this punk hair right here, hair on top and shaped on the sides. But before this, I had this whole Afro thing. And so on the first interview, I still had my whole Afro, and I did the interview, and I was accepted, and I moved on. Come to think of it, years later, I really thought to myself, times have really changed. The things that probably the generation of my father could do then, perhaps we deem them to be very, sometimes irrelevant or not so fitting to ourselves. And for them, probably they couldn't, look for work with hair. Us, sometimes you even get guys with the dreadlocks. But there's so much difference in our generation versus our generation behind us or ahead of us. So really understanding what works for a generation as a youth really matters. And so that means doing a lot of research. And research is going to help you, hand point, thank you. Research will really help you to really lock down on the values that people stand for, especially in your generation, but also what is expected of you, not just by individuals, but also by organizations. As I said, personal brands will also affect where you work. It's not just for yourself. Personal brands also affect the people around you, your neighbor, your wife, your kid, your husband, whoever. And so really looking into who you are is very important as a young person. And it has a very high chance of propelling you into the future and giving you and opening up possibilities. Now, just to share a bit of, I'd say, practical things that I did, or rather I'm still doing, because I'm still very young. So practical things that I'm still doing. One of the ways that I have tried to build myself as a brand is by exposing myself to a lot of networking and learning. You see, as I think it's Dr. Igoki who says that your network is your net worth. So networking and learning is very important. If you stay stagnant in one place, so many things are bypassing you. And by the time you're even deciding to do research about branding, so many things have gone, and you have a lot to learn once you realize that you're too far behind. Then making others aware of your capabilities and relevance. So I'll give an example of one of the things I did a couple of, like 2 years ago. Yes, I'm employed, but I realized that I needed to start my own business in production, Jahoke. That's Jitan Horizons KE. And so I didn't have portfolio as an individual. So I remember I called my friend called Albert. I decided, guy, we are getting a salary. So why not take advantage of this opportunity and do work for free for other people? Because you can pay our bills at the end of the month, then why not do some work for free for our own business? So that's what we did. And we started doing pro bonos. So over time, we still didn't get clients that could pay. But the fact that we had done pro bonos had given us portfolio. And that was probably for the next client who would come and ask us for a portfolio, and we'd show them the kind of work that we've done. But also what we allowed the people that we did the pro bonos for, what we allowed them to get is our ability or our skill. You see, if you don't show someone that you have this particular skill, it's very hard for them to either employ you or to give you an opportunity to do something. So then make others aware of your capabilities and allow yourself to be relevant there and grow. Your personal branding is determined by how you build yourself, what you know. If you don't know, trust me, it's very hard to build yourself, and how much your environment contributes to that growth. I can have a good product in my own view, and An example is, I like to pick an example of a toothbrush that is pink. And I put a pink toothbrush out there in the market, in the shelves. But trust me, how many men will buy that particular brand? You know, simply because of color. Pink is not really my thing, yeah? So if I have a good product, but it's not relevant to my audience, then how do I custom make it to the people that I want to get my product? So if you don't get your product to your audience, and in this case, your product is yourself. So if you're not relevant even to the people that are around you, then you need to look into that and really do some research and some introspection. Otherwise, you have failed, you know. And then let me just move on to the next thing. And I think because so much has been shared, for now I'll just hold it there. I just want to give a fun fact, even as I wrap up. This is something I learned and I found it interesting. But before I read this, I'd ask a question. If there is a storm somewhere, and you have a tree and you have a shrub, which one is likely to survive? And perhaps you can type your response in the chat section. There's a storm, and then there's a tree in the storm, and then there's a shrub in the storm. Which one is likely to survive? As you're even filling in, let me just give you an idea. This is what I thought personally, that because the tree is so huge and it has a very firm trunk, chances of it surviving is very high. But I was sad to realize that I was actually wrong, because if the tree is firm, then it means that it cannot bend to, you know, the wind, the strong winds and stuff. And so its likelihood to break is very high. And that's to say that if you're very versatile and flexible every now and then to learn something new, then it gives you the opportunity to survive in certain areas as a person, as an individual. So for instance, new technology is coming out. And as a young person, and you have someone is saying the shrub will do better in a storm. Thank you. And he's right, because it has a flexibility to move about. You know, while the tree is very strong, but the fact that it cannot move, it can break very easily. And so if you're able to relearn, to unlearn certain things in your life, if you're able to ask people questions and they tell you this is who you are, and you really don't like it, then how do you unlearn the things that you know or who you are? So allow yourself to also learn things that are positive, and also to unlearn things in your life that are very negative, and that will allow you to propel yourself to another level. And something else here, fun fact, a caterpillar cannot breed until it has turned into a butterfly. So I was just doing this research. I came across this some time back, and I really found it interesting that it cannot breed until it has turned into a butterfly. If it remained a caterpillar, it will run extinct. And so if you go back and just look at the process that a caterpillar goes through of morphing from that to an egg, a larva, pupa, butterfly, all those stages, you know, you realize that sometimes when you're in a comfort zone and you're feeling like, me, I don't want to change, then your likelihood of running extinct or running irrelevant is very high. So then how do you allow yourself to move from these different stages, understanding the importance of being flexible from time to time and changing, learning and unlearning from time to time so that you can be something better. So a butterfly can travel for miles and miles to look for food. But a butterfly can fly miles to look for food, but a caterpillar can only stay on trunks, on stems, on leaves to fend for itself, you know. So how do you allow yourself to become that butterfly, or be able to go further in your journey as a youth, you know, in growing? I think I'd like to finish there. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. That was powerful. I'm sure we are all learning something. And if you have any comments or questions, please write on the chat as we go to the last presenter. Our last presenter, but not the least, is John Obaldo. He's a dynamic focus fleet and maintenance consultant. He's also a poet, a trainer, and a teen mentor. you'll be talking about business branding. So welcome, John. James, you may stop sharing your screen to give an opportunity to John. Thank you, James. That was good. Okay, John, you can unmute and start sharing.
Yeah, that was a wonderful presentation from James. James is my director also in when I'm doing TV production, when I'm doing Sunday school. He's been my director as well. So it's good that we are in the same page today. So my name is John Obado. I'm going to be doing business branding. Something that I did not mention is that I own a company called Mafundi Hub, which was the next time you have a leaking sink, or you need electrical job in your house, or you need painting, just call me. So that's what we do. So in my topic for today, I'll be going through business branding, and I have a few, of course, a lot has been said. You'll discover that business branding interconnects personal branding, it interconnects the youth, it interconnects education that I've mentioned. So there's a lot of interconnection. So I'll be passing through whatever has already been mentioned so that we go through the main task. So I'll also find out what's a brand, what kills a brand, and how do you keep a brand alive. This is in relation to business. So let me start by asking you a question. What is the meaning behind this brand? What is the meaning? Probably you can, in 2 seconds, you can say, what does Just Do It mean? What does 23 mean? What does Nike Air mean? And that signature there. Maybe you can use the chat box in 2 seconds. All right, as you think about it, I'll give you a story of how this began. There was a last month which this guy had committed a crime and he was supposed to be murdered. And before being shot, he was asked, what are your last words? And he said, just do it. And that acronym became what Nike used as part of their slogan. They later took that word to be their slogan, and they used a very youthful person who was there in the 90s. You all know Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was using Adidas shoes, but Nike convinced him to use their shoe, so that he changed the brand from one brand to another. So in 1984, he changed his brand from Adidas to Nike. And Nike had actually done something that was against the law of NBA. They changed the color. Initially, they were supposed only to use white, but Nike chose red and black. And also they made a very special shoe that could give Michael Jordan a very big elevation, so he could jump higher. And by doing that, he was fined. Every time he used the shoes, Nike was being fined. But Nike said they're going to pay the fine regardless of what is happening, whatever fine, because it was giving them good profit. And that's how the acronym Just Do It came to be. Regardless of what happens, we'll just do it and continue. And that brand has been growing. So what is business branding? And just like we said, the personal branding definition has already given us what business branding is. It's just a connection. But we're just going to say it's creating an image that you desire for your business. So you're creating a new image that you desire for your business. And it's actually a promise. And I think it's a friend from India, I think is Muiden, who said it's a promise that you make to the world of what you want them to interact with your business. You want, when they come to your business, this is the promise. I'm going to do this for you. And the brand, we brand our business so that the business can stand out, so that the people can know you better and you can gain more profit. Of course, without profitability, there's no need for branding. And so what makes your business stand out? Or what makes most business stand out? And I've got four reasons why businesses stand out and what makes them stand out. And number one is behind the business, you must have a very great mission statement. And this great mission statement will make the people that you work with actually think of how they'll give success to the business. So if you're working with people with a great mission statement, it will drive them to want to bring more even to that business. It is a constant reminder of who you are, but in the future, not even now, but in the future. Yeah. Then the second thing is be different from competition. The line rises and increases profit margin by how different you are. The more, if you're different from other people, you get more profit. If you're just the same, you are not going to get as much profit. And there's a verse that says, not a verse, but a quote that says, the one who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. You actually just go as far as the crowd will go. But those who walk alone are likely to find themselves in places that they've never been before. Yeah, so that really happens, and it's true. So be different from competition. Another thing, connect with your logo. There's no brand that doesn't have a logo. And if you don't have a logo, you are missing it. Of course, the logo, with the logo, it will grab attention. It's the first impression. Somebody spoke about first impression. It's your identity. People will remember you very easily, and it will separate you from other competition. And above all, it will bring what we're calling the brand loyalty. Then number 4, have a professional website. Well, if you have a business and you don't have a professional website, you're really missing it, because people need to know where they're going to land in. My last point says that is your shop window. Through your website, you'll reach out more people. The customers will experience what you have. You'll have brand presence, credibility, and there's also the power to search. People will be able to interact with you even as they go through the website. So without a professional website, your brand will not make it very well. Then this has been repeated by almost every presenter, consistency. But I'm adding this word. Did you know that a brand needs about 5 to 7 times before it can be recognized by an individual? That's why people keep on putting their brands on TV, so that by the time it's the 7th time, that's how that will be like once. 5 to 7 times, that's when it's recognized by an individual. They say, oh, there's something that I saw. So if you just flash it once, it doesn't work. But if you're consistently doing the same thing and perfectly done, then it makes you more profitable and in the market. And of course, like we say, consistency bring familiarity, it brings trust, it brings loyalty, and it brings success. And I'll give you some examples of brands in Kenya, and you'll find out that all these brands have got these 4 attributes that I'm talking about. If you look at, of course, the major ones, they've got consistency, they've got people trust them. M-Pesa, during COVID, people survived with M-Pesa for a long time. Our people in the villages were being taken care of by the people in the city by use of M-Pesa. There is loyalty. People know these brands. There is success. They speak of success, having produced electricity from the time you're born to date. These brands talk of familiarity, trust, loyalty, success. You see them, you see success. And now I'm going to go to my other point, which is what kills brands. And I'll give you a sad story. I know my brother James has talked about the youth, but I want us to go back and remind ourselves of Kodak. How many of you remember Kodak? When we used to come from church and we are told by our parents to wait for a photographer who will take us photos, and the photos will come after a week, after being produced through the studio and all that came to an end. Can you still hear me? I need to confirm.
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. All that came to an end when Kodak died, and it died a very silly death, so to say. Founded in 1892, in 1975, one of the engineers invented a digital camera. And then he presented the prototype to the executive board. And do you know what the board told him? They told him, this is a very cute idea, but please don't tell anyone about it. They did not want to engage into change, just like our brother James was telling us, and the rest of the people who have talked. They did not want to go to the new system. And what happened? They later sold the prototype to who? Their competitor, Sony and Nikon. And they became bankrupt within a few years. And there's no more digital camera. There's no more production of films. So what kills a brand? Number one, when you need to focus on your relevance. Are you still relevant? Know the difference between the people that know you and the people that love you. You know, there are people who can love you, but they don't attribute to what you do. The people who know you, but they actually don't love you. Yeah. A good example is this. There are people who take Coke, they don't take Tusker. There are people who take Tusker, they don't take Coke. But we all know the two companies. So between the two companies, which one is embedded in the lives of the consumer? It all depends on the brand and who has done it more. Then number two, make your logo to have a unique identity. So does your logo connect with your audience? And I think we've talked about the logo, where you look at the logo in a flash and you're able to know that this is what company. Avoid overexposure. As much as we are talking about consistency and showing it more than 5 to 7 times, do not create mental fatigue on people. Have a balance between obscurity and visibility. We always know that even in love, absence makes the heart grow fonder. So when people don't see you, then you appear, they say, oh, that's a good company that you're talking about. So do not overexpose. And whatever you say, make sure you do, which means deliver on your brand promise. Don't say we will do this and put a very big poster and people look at it every day, but you do not deliver on your promise. That will be a failure, regardless of how many times, how big your billboards are, how many times you advertise, what social media platform you use. If your brand is not delivering to your promise, you can just forget it. So finally, how do you keep your brand alive? How do you keep your brand alive? And I think I've got 4 points as well. Most of us have seen the major companies that I showed you. They're always in corporate social responsibility. They're always helping people, sponsoring safari rallies, doing cleanups and doing tree plantings, doing runs and charity donations. Serve a purpose. If you have a purpose, even the little children will know your brand. They'll put on your t-shirt and they'll say, I'm running for this, I'm doing this for this. So serve your purpose. What are you doing in the society? How are you helping the people? How many people do you take to school? How many people do you help that will remember you for a long time? Number two, find your social media space. And I think this has been said so many times. Be creative, innovative, and know your niche. I think even Dr. Igoki spoke about knowing your niche, and use email marketing. There's a company in Tanzania called Tanzania Specialists. They're a tour firm. If you just attempt to go to their website and write anything and leave your email address, I promise you, you'll be getting an email every week with the new products of what they have. They will always tell you about what is happening in those beautiful places. They are very good at email marketing. That is a very good tool that people do not know. Email marketing. They do not bore you. They give you different, it's not the same thing every time. Every time they're updating you of what is happening and they're giving you options and they're finding out how you're doing. Very interesting. Number three, act on feedback. And I think there's somebody else who spoke about feedback. Have an interactive online presence. Make sure your online presence is interactive. People are talking back to you. Be available on a mobile device. If your website can only be seen on landscape on a laptop, but cannot be seen on a phone, then you need to go and talk to the person who's making your website so that You are available both on a laptop, on computers, and also available on phone. Get measures and improve, as in make sure that whatever people are telling you, you're able to improve, listen to what they're saying and style up. And there's something I'm calling service after service, which means after you've done something, follow up and find out. It's like you're doing a second service after you've already delivered. That's what I'm calling service after service. Then finally, and I think this one, Dr. Igoki, Dr. Rebecca, you've all written a book, but here I'm not talking about a book. I'm talking about telling your stories about your brand, telling your stories on videos, telling your stories on social media, let people know who you are. And I've got very good examples. There are two companies that I love. There's a company called City Radiators. They started by soldering stalls, but currently they manufacture radiators for cars. Believe it or not, if you hear the story, you would not believe it. There's another company that's called Jim Cab, which is a taxi firm. I used to think that Jim means somebody's name, Jim, only to be told it means just in a minute, because they would be called, can I get the taxi? It will come just in a minute. Imagine such stories. They started with two very old Carinas. Now they've got a fleet of over 100 new cars, Noahs and all that, all over the town. Write a book through the stories that you tell other people. That's my 10 minutes. My name again is John Obado, CEO to Mafundi Hub. I'm also a fleet and maintenance specialist and a consultant, and I'm also in the mentorship and the training, and also in ministry in church.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That was also powerful. You can stop sharing your screen. Yeah, thank you. Stephen Mutua says that was tremendous presentation. Thank you, John. All right, we are coming to the end of our presentations. I think all the presenters have already done their part. And I'm sure now we know what personal branding is. And I hope from today, we are going to lift our status in regards to our personal brands. And also if we have organizations, then we'll also be able to implement some of the ideas that we have been, that have been shared this evening.